One that I think people say a lot in my comment section is, well, you moan about how much everything costs, you moan about how hard work is, but then your generation doesn't want to do the work. You don't want to live like us, you don't want to do the work that we had to do. Now, initially, I might have actually been slightly offended by that, but as time went on, I had to think about this topic a lot more. And I started to think about one thing. No, we don't want the lifestyle that you had. I understand that we have a lot of problems here in the UK at the minute, right? Things like the cost of living crisis, things like the fact that a lot of young people can't find skilled jobs that pay well, especially relative to the amount of work that they've had to put in for degrees. But really, life is quite easy, right? And I understand that a lot of people make unnecessary complaints about things that don't matter. Here in the UK, we all have it quite nice. Most of us do, right? If you have a family and a house to live in, even if it's not the best house, you probably live in like one of the richest people in the whole world, right? We don't have it that bad, most people in the UK. Now, I'm aware certain people do, but you get what I'm saying. This is context to today's video because I'm going to explain why that's relevant. So a lot of people have a fairly nice life, right? So they don't really have much to complain about. I agree. Anyone that said that, I would agree completely. But this is the thing, right? Jobs don't pay what they did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. You can't go out of university and get a six-figure job. Well, not six-figure job, but a really high-paying job or a well-paying job. People who have degrees work for minimum wage in coffee shops. We still have privilege, right? I'm not saying that anything else is true, but I'm saying that is an objective truth, whether people like it or not. I would definitely make the argument in my generation, and even for myself, right? I wouldn't have ever considered or thought really too hard about all of these businesses and stuff like that if a job paid all right. Now, I understand that work is not supposed to be fun, or it's not always fun, right? But I would take a miserable, boring job for 50, 60, 70 grand a year as a graduate. I'd be bored 8 hours of the day if it meant that I get to look at my Porsche when I go outside. But that's the thing. That's not how it is for most people. It may have been like that once, it may have not, I don't know, I wasn't alive, but that's what my family members and people in the comment section, lots of people in the comment section as videos have gone on, have told me. And yes, by the way, I think it is as of a direct consequence of the fact that jobs don't pay well and people don't therefore want to work for big companies, and big companies seem to care less. It's created an environment where people actually start to question things an awful lot more. Now that's good to an extent. But what does it mean in relation to this issue? It means that we're in a sort of situation where people, for maybe the first time in over 100, 200 years, are at a point now where the cost of living is high, but even if it's living with friends, family members, shared accommodation, most people have got enough comfort time to think about things, think about what they want, but they're in that middle ground where they're not 100% comfortable. They're still not being paid very much, they're still overworked and underpaid and all that sort of stuff, right? So there's always still that element of, right, what could things be? And it creates an environment where people think less about what they can do in work and more about what they can achieve in the world. Now, I'm aware, because I've had it all in the comment sections before, right? Someone's going to think it's some woke nonsense, and that's fine. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just talking nonsense. But people are waking up, right? I personally don't think that aim in life is just to work, especially not for a very low wage. If the work's not fulfilling and it doesn't pay well, that's a lose-lose. Like I say, I'd take a very unfulfilling job for an awfully high pay if it meant that I had the benefits that came with it. But people don't want to do unfulfilling jobs for awfully low pay. There's no benefit to it, and people, therefore, are thinking about other things. And because of that now, we have a place where people think about what their position in the world is, or at least could be. It creates that market where people think, hey, let's do something different. Let's try change things. I want to travel the world. I don't want to work all day. So I guess people might say that it's because our generation doesn't want to work. And I think that's true. We don't want to work. I wouldn't mind working. I work hard on my own businesses, right? Multiple businesses, but that's a different subject. The point is this. Because most people don't want to work, they're in a position where old people don't give them the best advice anymore. I've made quite a few videos where it's kind of been a side note discussing this point, the fact that young and old people don't seem to see eye to eye. Like, all the young people think that all of the old people are stuck up and stuck in their ways because they don't understand the struggles of our generation, and that's to an extent true. And all of the old people see all of the young people complaining about everything and think all of these young people are soft. And again, there's an element of truth to that. Both sides are based in truth, but they do end up dividing us on lines that realistically, if we both saw eye to eye, we'd probably agree on. Maybe it's an ideological difference as generations have gone on, but most people of my generation here in the UK that I speak to seem to have one message in their heads. They're not out for work. They work to make money. They don't live to work. I think that's a generational change. But I think that also speaks to the way that a lot of young people think and why a lot of old people don't understand them. You know, I've heard old people say that God made us to work. And I'm just there like, okay, really, do we think that? I agree that we were, well, by the way that humans in nature would naturally live, we might be made to hunt and run and swim and do all of these super cool adventurous things. I think that's why our body, anyone who's outdoors and adventurous, is drawn to that, right? Because that's our natural urge. When in nature did humans sit in offices all day for minimum wage? Because maybe my history's off, but in the last 200 years is the only recollection I've seen of it. Yes, there's been certain jobs that people have always had. That's a natural fact of how civilization and society functions. But this idea that we were made to work a job and that's our creation, why? Why would people think that? Maybe I'm going on some liberal nonsense, but I don't think so. Is the only aim in life to wake up super early, tired all the time, don't get to spend time with your friends, family members, don't get to travel the world, all this sort of stuff, because you work for small wages in a very small part of the world? Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. And that brings me on to the concept. It's like all these kids don't want to work today. Most of them don't. Most of them do not want to work. They want to work, but they don't want to work for the pay and conditions that are being presented today. Now, it's not a problem that I really face because I run my own businesses. I'm basically okay for the time being, right? Maybe they'll fail, maybe I'll have to get a job and whatever. But most people do not want that life anymore. I think another big thing with our generation is that the internet and the modern day has given us access to a lot more information, a lot more understanding as to what things really could look like. We don't have our friends as our social circle alone. We see lots of stuff online, right? Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up for debate. But my point is this. Because of what we know about the world, because of what we see in the world, we don't want to live this lifestyle anymore. And because we don't want to live it, we aim for different things. I think older people think, you know, if you work for maybe 25 years, you've actually avoided a lot of work, and you get to then retire and have a nice house and all that stuff. And by the way, if you work hard here in the UK, do the maths, right? Even if you work hard on minimum wage, 60 plus hours a week, you're stacking quite a lot of money. You're stacking a decent amount, right? So there's an argument to be made for either side, but that's not the point. The point is this. Most people don't want to give up the 20-25 years. They don't want to spend that time unfulfilled and doing all this stuff to build up a system. They don't want to be like the older generations. And I think a lot of people now are comfortable with the consequences that come with not doing the work. I made that video where I spoke about the fact that a lot of young people are leaving Western countries or rich countries to seek out a cheaper living experience. And an awful lot of people agreed with me. I'd be lying if I would say that I wasn't surprised by the amount of people who shared their stories of moving abroad from places like the UK, and they wanted to do it for the different lifestyle that comes with it. What is the message of today's video? The message of today's video is the fact that a lot of people now see the world as a different place to what it was 50, 100 years ago. And so they should, because it is. Maybe it's that we're all soft, maybe it's that we're all lazy, maybe it's that we're all weak. Or maybe the internet, certain social trends, has driven us to a position where we think now, hey, you know, instead of me staying on this industrial estate, working in that office for the next 40 years, even if I get paid a decent amount, why don't I take a slight pay cut, maybe a slight conditions cut, and travel the world? Or take the risk of starting a business and stuff like that, right? We're in a different generation, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I do not think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's actually a major success for us. Another big threat that a lot of old people don't seem to think that we face, but we do, us who are switched on about things understand this, AI. AI seems to be the thing that could wipe out the vast majority of jobs. writing, filmmaking, accounting, bookkeeping. Most industries have a threat posed by AI, which means that with how greedy and selfish big companies are anyway, if the robot can do it cheaper, they ain't keeping you on. So not only do we live in a market where things are already poorly paid, it's also very uncertain. It doesn't make much sense anymore to even think about a long-term mission in a career for a lot of people. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm saying that a lot of times in this video because I'm sure people will be like, you're wrong. It's not going to be like that. But there's certain markets where it's already becoming like that. Just look at when you go to Tesco's, right? A supermarket. There's only like 2-3 cashiers there anymore. There used to be, even when I was a kid, right? Let's say I don't know, a year, for example, but we'll say 2010. It was full of old ladies, students, people who'd be working these sort of jobs, and they don't anymore because the market's disappeared. They will let the AI do it for you. I guess it's something that I've always thought on because, you know, you get it all the time, especially when I make these videos, right? I make all different sorts of videos around topics. They are aimed at young people. I'm aware that a lot of people, because I can see the statistics, right? A lot of people 40, 50, 60 watch. That's great. And I love all of you, right? If you're a long-term viewer, I love you irrespective of who you are, where you are, and how old you are. But I make topics for young people specifically. And whether young people catch that, whether old people catch that, whatever. My point is this. Because of that, there's a bit of a divide in what older people may see or understand. What I'm saying, though, is you get it all the time in the comment section. You're lazy. You don't want to work, this, that. I wouldn't mind working. I'm looking for a part-time job to keep me busy as time goes on, but hey, a lot of young people don't want to work. But my question is, if you just graduated from your degree, would you want to work for £7 an hour or £10 an hour? If you've just spent £60,000 to get your degree in, not in a nonsense subject, right? Because some of these subjects, I agree, there's no point getting a degree in. But let's say you got a decent degree like me, right? Business management degree, and you look at the jobs that you can get, and it's like you average out the hourly pay, and it's like £7. Who's going to do that? You'd make more money working at Tesco. And you think, oh, okay, well, maybe the system's not helping me. Anyway, take that element out of it, and let's look at this one instead. When we're in a market where jobs don't pay, when we're in a market where young people see different opportunities all around the world and opportunities to start new businesses, why stay with the old times? I think most people, even older people, understand this, right? I've got grandparents in their 80s, right? And they're rich as well, relatively rich, right? What I'm saying is they've got a nice life for themselves. So if anything, these are going to be the most out of touch people. But my granddad says it to me all the time. It's like, it must be tough for your generation. And it's like, well, it is. Because things are different. And a lot of old people do understand that, right? I'm not saying that all old people think that all young people are lazy, but it does seem to be a problem that we face as a generational divide. And it's a real shame, because if we saw eye to eye and on the different terms that we're both dealing with, we'd probably agree on it. But for the older people out there, a lot of young people do not want the lifestyle that you have or have had. They want the benefits of it, and yeah, most people probably would, because someone like me, I think, maybe even in the pre-internet days, I'd have either had a very, very okay job, I'd like to think, or tried some business. I think the internet's made it easier for people like me, but I don't think I would have been ambitionless, even if it was in the old times, right? But what I'm saying is most people do not seek that ambition. They seek a simple life. They just want to be employees and have a basic life. But in today's market, where jobs do not pay great, it's very hard to even do that. Every generation in human history has had its change. Everyone can see this as time goes on. It's easy to look at this retrospectively. And I think we're in a change now where things are different. People can work multiple jobs online. People can run their own businesses. Look at some of these YouTube channels, right? I run a YouTube channel of my own. Welcome to it. You know, you are watching it. But the point is this, right? People make millions from doing stupid pranks. The economy ain't the same as what it was. That's not a bad thing. It's a different thing. But again, it's one that I always say, modern times require modern solutions. And in the context of this matter, we don't live in the 50s. We live in the 20s, the 2020s. It's a different time to any that we've faced in the past, and it comes with an ambitious and eager generation to embrace the new challenges. But for most young people, look, yeah, you can still make a really nice amount of money if you get a fairly average, I don't know, even a warehouse job, right? I've seen jobs in warehouses that pay really well. So you can make a lot of money if you stack the hours, 60, 70 hours, but a lot of money ain't going to go that far. It's not going to be enough money to probably buy a house. And even if it is, are you going to be able to keep that up for the next 20, 30 years? We're not in the market that we've been in the past. We live in a market where people make millions of pounds from doing stupid pranks on the internet and, well, even worse stuff than that. It's just a product of our times, right? High costs, low salaries, and different opportunities. People live differently. Why do I make this video? Well, I'm not too sure about that. A lot of the time I just discuss topics that are on my mind. But I suppose one of the reasons why I do make this video is to give two insights. First and foremost, I aim to talk to my younger people, right? My people my age and below. Because I get told it all the time, like I say, we're lazy, we don't want to work. Look, you're not the only one feeling this way. And I know a lot of us have parents, grandparents who do not have this open-minded view to how things are. And they think that, I swear, I've even heard this one before. You know, you're making £10 an hour. Back when I started the factory, we were making £3 an hour. But this was in 1950 though, so we're not really thinking it through sensibly, are we? Anyway, the point is, not everyone has the opportunity to know that they are not the only one that thinks like this. And I'm here to reaffirm the notion, right? You're not the only one that thinks like this. I think like that. I think it is a very common belief amongst our generation. That's why a lot of people are looking at different alternative lifestyles, whether it's online business in the real world, whether it's, and it's the one that I approve of the absolute least, the idea of giving up. I've seen people actually give up and if they get a basic job or they go on some unemployment or something like that. That's the worst option. But whether it's moving abroad, business, something new, there's different opportunities in our day. We're not finished. I think a lot of old people think that we're lazy and weak and whatever, and maybe we are, but we're also in a different time, and our thoughts reflect on that. The second sort of people who I make this for is the older people who wonder why young people go off the way they do. I don't think most young people are lazy. But I do understand why most people don't want to work 60 hours a week. I am never going to agree with the mindset that we have been made just to work. I can understand that in the real world if we go to the gym every day and maybe go on runs and climb trees and stuff like that. That makes sense. Yeah, if we're classing that as work, hunting and living in the wildlife, we could make the argument that we're made for that. But I'm never going to believe that an entire 70, 80, 90 year life, because think about it, you go to school, which is it's kind of work, it's 6 hours a day. I'm not going to believe that the best part of 100 years is dedicated to crafting a business that doesn't even benefit you, because being an employee oftentimes does not. Why would you do that? It is very understandable that the people who were able to buy houses very early on and were able to get good jobs out of university think that young people are lazy, but that market's been and gone for most people. For most people, they ain't getting those jobs. The market's closed. It's not what it was. And I don't know. I guess it's just a different time. I wouldn't say it's wrong. I don't think it's great. And I do think for some people it will present a challenge. For myself, I'm happy to embrace it, right? I have no problem with it. As time goes on, as history has evolved, there's always been challenges and setbacks and differences that have occurred throughout nature. But this is just another societal change. As a group of humans as a whole, we're coming the right way. We're progressing. In a world as lovely as we have, or maybe just a country as lovely as we have, because of course some parts of the world have conflict and stuff like that, but let's face it, the whole world's beautiful, life's a gift, life is fun, or it can be. Is the point of humans not to get to a point of happiness? We're advancing our mission. And as time goes on, life's been getting easier, right? Maybe, I think everybody in the UK almost knows someone who had a parent, a grandparent, a great-grandparent who worked in some sort of a coal mine, right? Which is, in my eyes, probably like hell. If it pays well, then good. But if it doesn't, it's not fun. And also, that is strenuous labour. So yeah, working in an office is comparatively super easy. 100 years before that, even worse conditions. But we're going forwards, not backwards. So why are we thinking of stagnating in an office? A robot can write an assignment in 3 minutes is not a lie. It's very easy for it to do that. I've seen robots make movies. I've seen robots, as in AI, even edit some of my own videos. How about that? That shows how comprehensive it is. So AI is probably not a tool to replace us, but it's a tool that can make our life easier. So if we have these tools that make our life easier, if we have these opportunities to expand into maybe running a business or traveling the world or living somewhere cheaper and enjoying life that way, I'm never going to think it's wrong to embrace that. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people dislike it. Maybe people will disagree. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear it. And I guess that's it for this video. It's been quite a long one, but I guess it's just something that's been on my mind for a while, because I get it all the time, like I say. I love hearing different opinions, and I do understand where these people are coming from, but I don't think they understand where we're coming from. Markets change, lifestyles change, and societies change. And with all of the advancements at the minute, companies are cutting back on staff. Staff have the opportunity to expand into different markets. Life's nice, life's easy. Working 80 hours a week in a shop it's not fun, it's not easy, but it's easier than a lot of jobs that humanity has presented in the past. Let's not say otherwise. So yeah, we are in a greatly privileged position. But, I don't know, I think everyone's going to kind of get what I'm saying here, right? A lot of young people see the market that we're in and they don't want the lifestyle of the past. And they have the ability to change that. And I think that's why a lot of people are doing that. I think for us young people, though, there is a responsibility that we have. Because I see a lot of clips on the internet of young people complaining. And they are complaining, right? Straight up. They're complaining about, oh, life's so tough, or the office is not fun, or all this sort of stuff. And I just think, right, okay, well, you are actually part of the problem, because unless you're starting to build a business, look at cheaper ways of living and stuff like that, you're just complaining. And that is what the older people, the people who have built something in life, don't like to see. And even I disagree with it, right? What I mean is, the cost of living is expensive. Jobs don't pay very well. I created a business. I'm now running 3 different businesses, all in different categories. Whether they all fail or not, I don't know. But I'm looking to expand into more categories and build, hopefully, a decent income. I'm already doing okay, right? I've got this car. That's not the best car in the world, but it's fine. So my costs are covered, my rent and expenses are paid, and I'm doing okay. But I do not like it when young people who have all of the energy and the time, and they've got the lowest risk because they don't have any dependents and stuff like that, when they sit there and complain about how tough things are, whilst not having taken any chances, any risks. If you are young, don't complain. Change things. Improve your situation. Take the opportunities that you have, the opportunities that are presented by lower risk, lower dependencies, and stuff like that. You're in a great position, as we all are. I'm going to come full circle in this video and say what I said at the beginning. Places like the UK are great to live in. Is basically very peaceful. Living conditions are fairly okay. The cost of living is high, but relative to some other parts of the world, that's one of the least of our worries, right? It makes life harder, but I can think of multiple different ways in which it could be way, way harder. We live in a great country. We live in a great world. But let's acknowledge that by embracing that, by making the change that we want to see. I don't want to hear people complaining all the time, whilst not taking any action to be that change. And that's where I'll leave this video then. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, of course, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. I appreciate everyone who does watch. And really, well, that's all I have to say for this one. So thank you. And again, I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.